Hello there, and welcome to Doctor Who Radio Show. I'm That's the Way It Goes N9, and these lovely gents with me are, in no particular order,
the old Doctor.
Michael Shannon here. Great to be here, David Aston. Thanks for having me.
Monk of Magnesia, a.k.a. Jimmy.
And,
Matrix.
Yes.
Matrix Store 212.
Okay, cool. Thank you for joining everyone. And, something that Monk pointed out, which is on Doctor Who TV website, is a screen capture taken from the Edinburgh TV Festival of Smith, Tennant and Hurt in the 50th anniversary.
It's not doesn't give anything away since we know all three of them are going to be in it, but it's nice to see it.
It's, in essence, it's nice to see a screenshot, but it's basically what was described in the trailer.
Yeah, I want to see a trailer too. This is.
Yeah, it's
nice,
a bit of a tease, huh?
Mm.
Like, what are they looking at? You know,
It wasn't
what are they looking
the
at?
official release, and who leaked it out.
So, like, they're gonna go in Matt Smith's TARDIS, so where's Rose and Clara? They're just chilling out, or like?
We don't
We
know.
don't even know if this scene is inside the TARDIS. We don't know where it's taken.
Okay.
It's just
That's
a
interesting.
scene of those
No, but-
three together.
Going by the description of the trailer, we're going to dig in the TARDIS.
It looks like a serious moment though, doesn't it?
It does.
Do you think they're possibly standing down the main villain of the piece?
Could be.
I don't even think John Hurt is the villain though. I don't know.
No. He's essentially the odd guy out.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If the tears in time represents the Doctor's body, right? The great intelligence went in and Clara went in, right? Because he don't regenerate and that's just his soul. So if the Doctor enters his body, does he prevent his death because now he's part of himself again?
I didn't understand that question.
Well, the Doctor said, that in the end, name of the Doctor, right? The that thing kept that it was like those tears in time and stuff like that. That's saying that that's his timeline. That's in essence his soul. Like that's what is left after he dies. Okay, so in essence that's like his spirit, right? So if he enters that, if he enters his own form, like if he is not a human form anymore, Gallifreyan form, and if he enters his own, like what it's supposed to be himself, isn't that why that whole thing is erased, where he doesn't die a Translord, because he just merged with himself, sort of like the Watcher and himself?
He didn't say it was his soul. He said it was the scar tissue of his travels through time.
Okay. But it's still his timeline, right?
Yeah, his timeline. I don't think it was him. I think it was like the essence of the temporal damage he did traveling through time. That's the way he said it. He said it's the scar tissue all the way from Gallifrey to Trenzalore.
Okay.
That was like a almost like a trail through time.
But by entering his own thing, he repairs it where it doesn't happen, no?
I don't know. He goes back to get Clara out, but she had already repaired it.
Yeah,
Because
no,
remember, I was born to save the Doctor, but now the Doctor has been saved, and my story is over, and then he went in to get her out.
But then by him going in, you see the coffin fade.
Maybe this is what I've thought before. When he stepped into his own timeline, he stepped into a physical world, like a sort of fantasy world type thing, inside his own head, like that old 90s sitcom Herman's Head, when he used to sort of step into his own.
Right, I remember that. Yeah,
me too.
It was on Fox.
It's possible the picture was taken at you have this echo of David Tennant. It's possible that the picture was taken just as one shot changed to another. But either way, you do have a sort of three Doctors set up, because you had, well, you didn't have the three Doctors, but you did have John Pertwee and Patrick Troughton sort of basically encountering Omega in the same way.
Well, like I'm saying, from the picture, it looks like the 10th Doctor's ready to go, like he's ready to pounce on something. The 11th Doctor looks kind of chill, and so does the John Hurt Doctor. Like, I don't know, something's going on. You know, it just sucks. I kind of wish we could see this in motion. It's hard to make out really anything with this picture.
Kind of
really
looks like Clara and Rose went shopping, and these guys just realized they built it to them.
Something's going on where the 10th Doctor's a little more bothered. He just looks a little bothered. I don't know.
He looks concerned.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
David Tennant did say that the character of the 10th Doctor is slightly different in this than it was when he was playing it, because he's interacting with a different Doctor in Matt Smith. And you know, he's sort of, oh yeah, of course, it's the same as when he knew he was going to die in the end of time. He's seeing into his, not just the shameful past, but also into his future, which presumably he's going to be told is, or guess, that this Matt Smith, 11th Doctor, is the one who, like he said, walks off into the horizon after he's changed. A young man, blambers off or whatever, in that little cafe scene with Wilf.
Yeah. I know he's afraid of regenerating, so maybe this is, a sign, like almost like the next Doctor, where like, who's this guy? And it's like, he's questioning it. This is who I'm going to become. So.
Oh, perhaps it explains his attitude at the start of End of Time. Explains why he was purposely delaying meeting the Ood. You should not have delayed. This would make a perfect opportunity to add some TV time backbone to why he had that attitude. It wasn't just because he was being crazy and whimsical, it's because he'd actually actively discovered the future result of what, oddly enough, was going to happen after this that happened.
I don't think so.
Before.
I don't think so, because I think it's just he had the prophecy that he was going to die. And that was on his head, that he was definitely going to die. And I don't think at that point he didn't have any memories of this, because it was erased or faded from his mind. And I think he was just worried about not dying. And then after, when he found that he was going to regenerate, he just didn't want to. It's like he's been around for 906 years old, 6 years or 7 years, and at that time. And it's like when you get your, like, an outfit or something, you're comfortable in your favorite shirt or your favorite pants. In this sense, he was comfortable in this regeneration. In the first chance that he got where he was going to regenerate, he sort of avoided the regeneration by channeling the energy into his hands. So it was very apparent that he did not want to regenerate. He wanted to stay in this incarnation till the end. And that's what it was. He was very happy as the 10th Doctor, and he did not want to be. He wanted to be there longer, and he felt like it was taken from him, that opportunity. He wanted to just grow old in this incarnation.
Well, I think it does reflect on why he had that attitude at the very start of End of Time. And the reason being is because the 10th Doctor knows firsthand what will sort of happen before he does regenerate. He'll see the end of his next regeneration, the 11th Doctor, and he'll also discover who will be raising his head out of his past again, i.e. John Hurt. So he's basically discovering, whether he likes it or not, what will happen hundreds of years into his own personal future.
But you see, if he knows that, Dave, then he also knows about Clara, so that's where it doesn't make sense. Because then 11th Doctor would have all that knowledge of Clara before, so he wouldn't be questioning it then. So in other words, he would know that Clara's the impossible girl. He would know all that stuff from the 50th anniversary. So he doesn't. It's just
not necessarily. We don't know that he's actually going to meet up with Clara. He's going to meet his future incarnation, but we've never seen a clip of Clara with Tennant. It's possible they're both in it and they don't meet, but we do know that the 2nd Doctor remembered the 3rd.
Right.
So it's not given that he's going to forget. But that's the thing, though. If John Hurt is a corporeal, flesh and blood doctor, then that means both the 10th and the 8.5 Doctor, whatever he is called, will also know of Clara, or at least have a suspicion of what might possibly happen. But of course, that would be like 500 years into the future for him, so perhaps he will literally just forget. Or purposely forget, because he's basically taken 8.5 and shelved him away. Filed him away.
But it's possible, too, that whatever this adventure in the 50th is the end result of it is going to be what rescues Clara. Because last we saw Clara, she was passed out. So, I mean, these other two doctors may not ever see Clara. Maybe whatever Smith is doing is for Clara's benefit, and he has to team up with his past selves and, Rose. And
again, we still don't 100% know where John Hurt really fits in completely.
No.
Well, if that wardrobe guy's to be believed, he said he was the true Ninth Doctor, the one that was
right. I remember. I remember that.
We don't know.
We're not 100%. He could be from the future.
We don't even know if he's in the Christmas special because I heard that too, that he may be in the Christmas special.
Yeah, but when we looked on IMDb, there was nothing about John Hurt on it.
The Fifth Doctor did say in the Five Doctors that a man is some of his memories, a Time Lord more so. So maybe it's really, like I said before in a previous Doctor Who radio show, subscribe by the way, that quite literally numbers don't really relate to each Doctor at all. It's just a method for the audience to familiarise themselves from a chronological and merchandise point of view.
Right, there you go. That's true. So how would they how would they do that in the storyline? John Hurt's there with David Tennant. How would it come up that I came in after the Eighth Doctor? Like, how would that come up?
In
how
a
would he
flashback,
say that?
possibly. If we may see it in a flashback,
like you're saying,
regenerate into the Eighth, regenerate into the Ninth.
So if we saw like a flashback, other than that, they wouldn't just say it.
There's a scene that looks like it takes place during the Time War on Gallifrey.
Right.
And I think that's probably a flashback in the opening scene. We'll see John Hurt on Gallifrey fighting the Daleks. So it could be at some point in there it's mentioned that he just regenerated, or we may even see something like that. Or, we may be totally blown away at the end and see John Hurt regenerate into Christopher Eccleston. Because they could lift Eccleston out of out of one of his episodes for a quick regeneration scene.
Yep.
So, couldn't he also be an older Eighth Doctor?
That's a good
aged. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But
I hope when we see it, we get it right away, like where he fits in.
But one of the things I was thinking about, now he's wearing the same coat the Ninth Doctor wears. So if they did want to lift a scene of Eccleston out of an earlier episode, it would match up because they've got him wearing the same coat.
Right, exactly.
Well,
and that might be why he's wearing that coat, so they can match it up for a regeneration scene with some stock footage.
Yeah.
Or they might have actually got Eccleston to do a couple of minutes, literally, of it, just to end his time with it.
You never know. Can't wait to see it. What do we got? 3 months? 2 months? What is it now?
91 days.
91 days?
Yeah.
Tick tock goes the clock.
All right.
That's 3 months, really, in one day. So.
Right.
But, I think it's possible it could be an Eighth Doctor. Yeah.
Could
I think it probably will be, because I think generally in things like this, we speculate, and then when we see the episode, the easy answer is usually the correct one.
Yeah,
you're right. Paul McGann has been insisting that he has not filmed anything for the 50th.
Well, there's an easy way around that, Tim.
Well, that might be just an aid to make it a surprise.
No. There's a way he can say that and technically no be lying.
Yeah,
Well, he could have filmed a prequel and technically he's no lying. He's no filmed something for the 50th.
That's true.
It would be nonsensical, I think, to viewers watching it at the time, which is in the future, if it's set during the Time War and there's no appearance of Paul McGann or even mention of the Eighth Doctor. It would be a very narrative-wise.
They could do something like lift an image of Paul McGann out of the movie and just have narration over it.
Right.
It could, but they'd have to get the movie. The rights aren't just the BBC. I think it's 20th
Yeah,
Century Fox as well.
But Fox wants money. If they pay Fox, they'll let them do it. And if they only want a couple seconds clip from it and then have narration over it to explain the things we don't see, it's possible.
But you know what? In a way, it would be cool if he was an aged 8th Doctor. Maybe we can get a little
That would make more sense.
On film, like a little backstory on, the ongoings of the 8th Doctor a bit, other than, I don't really know much about the audios, but he didn't get really any screen time much other than the movie,
That would make more sense.
But you know what that would do, Matrix Lord? If he is an older 8th Doctor, that means that the Smith Doctor is not the oldest Doctor, because how long must he have lived to physically have aged that much?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be a doctor, because they wouldn't have a doctor.
Yeah, but maybe, remember the Master aged the 10th Doctor with a device, with the laser screwdriver.
Yeah, that's true.
Could be a possibility.
But it got reversed.
Oh yeah, but I mean it happens.
Somebody could have aged the 8th Doctor.
Right.
Wow.
At the end, the Daleks or something.
But he lost the title of the Doctor, so then the 8th Doctor wouldn't be a Doctor, though.
Well, maybe at some point that could have happened. Maybe at some point he did something messed up, and
yeah, like if you were to lose the name Matrix Lord next week due to some copyright thing, that wouldn't invalidate all the episodes you did as Matrix Lord.
Right. Unless, of course, like when he went in his time stream, he saw the future. Unless John Hurt was what the future will be.
That's true.
I don't know.
Because they did state that it was not only his past and his present, but what will be. So
yeah, he knew that guy. He's like, that's me.
But he knows that if he goes in the time stream, because he knows what will be.
And he would have to know his future self from another adventure.
And he said he is my secret.
Yeah.
How could your future be your secret?
He knew him before he went into the time stream.
Because he knows it from the 10th Doctor.
Ah. Well, it's interesting to point out that in the Big Finish audios, that the 8th Doctor has actually had a change of costume, which looks closer to the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, as well. It's a leather jacket, sort of navy type thing, and he's got shorter hair. And I bet my top dollar, top banana, that the production team have taken that into account, and it's very possible that has been done to link directly in some way into the events of the 50th, because John Hurt has a costume which is like I think the production bloke said this as well, it's a costume that's half between the 8th and 9th Doctor.
I don't like that though, because like every time he regenerates, it's like he has a different look, so why would you ever have an in-between or a prequel or anything like that?
Glad you asked, John Matrix. Glad you asked. Because each costume reflects the time and experiences of the Doctor. So, with the 9th Doctor, he's just come out of a war where he's been stripped bare. With the 8.5 Doctor, John Hurt, he's sort of half and half. He's between, like I've said before, it's the end of the safe universe of Doctor 1 to 7, and he's entering the Time War universe where even his own standards apparently are going to be compromised, leading to his sort of disgracing the name of the Doctor. So his costume would reflect a vagabond, a mercenary, a sort of sailor, if you like. Sorry.
Or it could be a utilitarian thing. I mean, if he regenerates in the middle of a battle and that frock coat doesn't fit him anymore, he rips it off. He's running, he sees this other coat on a dead body or something and grabs it. And he's just getting dressed in the middle of a battle. He's not going in the TARDIS wardrobe and picking out his new look.
Yeah, I don't see the 9th Doctor, having a little fun in the TARDIS, where all the clothes are kept there. I think he changed in a battle, and he didn't really get. Looking at David Tennant we first see him going through the wardrobe and all. I don't know. I don't see the 9th Doctor doing that.
He probably wouldn't have time after.
Maybe kept the leather jacket, that was cozy enough, and moved on.
And the Ninth Doctor, too, you got to remember when you go back and look at the first episode, when they were showing the pictures of him traveling through time, he was dressed appropriately for each time period. He wasn't wearing his regular costume like with the Titanic. He was dressed like somebody from that era.
That's true. That's true, too.
Yeah.
And you also have the TARDIS console looking not so together. It's in bits and pieces. And if he's gone for a war where he's seen some things which make all his adventures before seem, it's horrific by comparison to what's gone before, that's bound to have had an effect on him.
Well, Russell T. Davies gave an explanation for why Tennant's TARDIS looked the way it did. But I don't know if it holds up now, because that was back before they come up with the idea that the TARDIS could regenerate itself. He said that Gallifrey was gone, and the reason it looked so mix-mashed is because the Doctor made repairs for the parts he could get from his travels. Wherever he would go, if he could get a part that he could use to repair the TARDIS, he would repair it, and so there was very little of the original Gallifreyan design left. That was what Russell T. Davies said.
I see.
But that was before they started doing this thing about the TARDIS being able to regenerate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I never knew that before, really. I mean, the TARDIS fixed itself in Father's Day to adapt to its surroundings, right?
Yeah, but what I was saying, what I said when Russell T. Davies originally had said the reason the Eccleston Tennant control room looked the way it did was that Gallifrey was no longer around, and so the Doctor was making repairs with whatever he could find.
Right. You said that before. Yeah.
So personality-wise, costume-wise, even TARDIS console-wise, he's confused. But again, that's what happens when you're in battle. Nothing's certain. He probably didn't even know he was going to survive or not himself.
But if Gallifrey's not around, how would he make the TARDIS the way it is now? I mean, he made it phenomenal for.
Well, that's they come up later with the idea that the TARDIS could regenerate, but early on they hadn't thought of that.
Right.
Maybe it was depressed. I mean, it does have emotions. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want an in-story explanation, maybe
to me it was the ugliest version of the TARDIS.
The
TARDIS is directly connected to the Doctor's mind, so it would take on the appearance
of whatever allows the TARDIS to regenerate how malfunctioned, and he wasn't able to do it at that time.
Right. And you figure
I got to step out for a second.
All right. That's coming right off the Eighth Doctor's TARDIS, where that looked fabulous. That's my favorite TARDIS interior, the Eighth Doctor's.
Yeah.
So the Ninth Doctor's is coming off that, where it's completely underwater looking, like something you would see underwater.
SpongeBob SquarePants, you said.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But yeah. But now it's cool. I like how it's going now with the 11th Doctor's
like it's scavenged, doesn't it, really, the TARDIS? He's had to put it back together. But again, just like his costume and his psyche, from the Time War, after the Time War, he would have to put it back together again, because everything's gone to hell, and he doesn't have what he used to have. He's in a mess. The whole point of the Ninth Doctor, until he gets to the 10th Doctor, he's sort of coming to terms. The Ninth Doctor's guilty. The 10th Doctor is finally sort of within himself, thanks to Rose, etc., recovering. And then eventually, with the 10th Doctor's regeneration, the TARDIS itself returns to how it used to be. Not broken down and looking burnt out,
Right.
Anyway, let's move on. Something very interesting I discovered the other day. A couple of months ago, Matt Smith had the wonderful clue to something that would feature in the 50th anniversary with the word paintings. Now, oddly enough, my fellow Whovians, there was, before the broadcast of The Name of the Doctor, a Paul Cornell comic strip called The Girl Who Loved Doctor Who. In one 3-page panel, there is a point where the 11th Doctor is in the TARDIS looking at a collage painted by Andy Warhol which depicts all his regenerations from Doctor 1 to Doctor 11, and between Doctor 8 and 9 is a blacked out silhouette. Now, what does that sound like to you? This is before the broadcast of the name of the Doctor.
What was this in, a comic book?
Yeah, it was. It's there were clues and other things as well before.
Do you have the title? I want to write it down so I can.
The Girl Who Loved Doctor Who.
That's the name of the. Is it a comic book or a magazine?
It's a comic book. It's a a sort of Paul Cornell written, illustrated type thing. Yeah.
The Girl Who Loved Doctor Who.
And it's basically a clue. And apparently there were clues before.
Well,
Interesting.
A 40-page story. The issue is even bigger than that, including backup strips. I'm not yet able to mention backup strips, all sort of connected into the 50th anniversary story. And apparently, unless I've got the end of the wrong end of the stick, this was all published along with other things before the actual name of the Doctor big revelation. Yeah, he's standing in front of pictures, paintings of all his other selves, and yet conveniently, just by sheer coincidence, the one just like John Hurt, who's supposed to happen between Paul McGann and Christopher Eccleston, is blanked out, is forgotten, not mentioned. Shameful.
well, let's be fair, guys. We know Moffat does take the previous episode. Why should comic books be any different?
But this is sort of linked into it. This is official, and it
I know it's
suggests
official,
that
but
even before the name of the Doctor, the 11th Doctor might have had a suspicion that something.
When did this comic book? When was this? When did this come out, Jimmy? Oh, so it's not out yet.
It's not out yet.
But apparently there were other hints in other things before leading up to it. So altogether, it's like little clues here and there. So perhaps we might actually see that whole bunch of paintings. Because remember, the clue was paintings. There's no reason whatsoever why in the 50th anniversary we won't see the 11th Doctor.
All right, here I have some
in front
info
of
on it.
something
It's
similar.
coming out the week of Christmas in the U.S. only for $8, but the British can digitally download it.
Approved by the BBC worldwide license.
So that's what we got on it so far. So again, weird. America's getting we're getting a real copy of it, but the British can digitally download it.
That means that the writer of this book had inside information about the 50th.
Yep, and it was approved by the BBC licensing.
Mm-hmm.
And look, was that Gallifrey under attack? Yeah, there's the
Yeah,
Daleks.
this is another comic book from IDW, which has a reference to the Doctor, to Hurt's Doctor. They don't show him; they just have a conversation in which the Time Lord says he has lost the right to use that name, the Doctor.
Read it to us.
I'm trying to find it.
Just read the comic. It's right in front of you.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the reference. Here it is. Mercy knows. Surely there must be some other way. If the Doctor has indeed seized the moment, he has rejected that name. The renegade stands against us. There shall be no place for him at our side. Yet take solace even in this. Even if Gallifrey falls, the Matrix will preserve its memory. And then boom.
Wow.
Blows up.
I see. So this isn't really information before the episode, but sort of hints of what might happen. Remember what the Doctor said. He destroyed the Daleks and the Time Lords, which of course they would, if they knew he had the moment and could destroy them, he was, trying to carry out something to end the war completely, and they sort of knew he's going to try and do that. They would see the Doctor as no longer on their side, but a threat.
Well, I would say that collage right there proves that this is going to be the real 9th Doctor, because he's right in between 8 and 9.
Yep. He's not an 8.5.
And if this was planned to be released after the special airs, then there's no point. It's not a secret at that point. If this is coming out Christmas week, by that time we'll have already seen the 50th.
Yep.
Oh, guys, I got a little bit of
the whole point is
serial news for us. You fans of Count Chocula and Frankenberry and Booberry?
Yeah.
Check out my wife just picked up for me. The Return of the Fruity Mummy.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
What's a Fruity Mummy?
The Fruity Mummy is a hard one to find. It comes out like about every 5 years they bring it back. The Fruity Mummy.
It's Yummy Mummy.
I'm sorry, the Yummy. Well, the Fruity Yummy Mummy.
Fruity Yummy Mummy.
The Fruity Yummy Mummy. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I may make a video with this.
Oh,
I love these cereals. I do, really.
Oh, that's great.
Sutek related.
So this, the thing we were talking about, Name of a Doctor, the comic strip, The Girl Who Loved Doctor Who, is basically like an inbuilt spoiler in some ways, and does add the suggestion that the Doctor, everybody was the John Hurt Doctor, wasn't forgotten or removed by the Doctor, but by the Time Lords as a punishment. Very much like
they said
exile.
he rejected the name of the Doctor and became a renegade.
Yeah.
But he always was a renegade. But this
It could
time
be
he
that he went
overstepped
back
the mark.
during the Time War and was acting as a general per se, in the war, and then when he realized that what both sides were willing to do, renegaded against the Time Lords and just stopped everybody to end the war.
Yeah, you know what? This is from a comic book, so
yeah, but it was
officially sanctioned. And
it was sanctioned by the BBC.
And they got the third Doctor with lipstick on. I'm not appreciating that image.
Yeah.
Why does the third Doctor guy look like the Joker?
Because of freaking Andy Warhol.
And freaking Andy Warhol.
Remember
that?
what? Oh, of course. Maybe the whole point of Matt Smith's Clue paintings was directly to this comic. So he knew this is like I said, sort of a bit more meat to the 50th anniversary. It's not perhaps going to be in the 50th anniversary, but linked to things mentioned, in the dialogue of the 50th
For all we
anniversary.
know, this scene may be in the 50th.
So it adds to
This sexual scene with the painting could be in the 50th. They could
that
be
could
taken.
be possible.
Yeah.
But I can't say a comic book can be completely canon.
So after trying to prevent Davros from using the Hand of Omega, he actually uses himself a Time Lord destructive weapon, not to meanfully kill like the Master, but out of desperation to end the war. Just like, America dropping the Hiroshima bomb. That ended the war. That's what it is, really, an analogy. Two sides constantly going, one person with the power to end it, knowing full well that if they didn't take the dreadful decision that they knew they had to, that war would continue and continue until nobody was
But
left.
my thing is this, Mike. If this book is scheduled to be published after the special airs,
Right.
and it's officially sanctioned by the BBC, then I'm thinking it's got to fit in. Otherwise, if it was before, I'd say, well, maybe they're speculating. But if it's set to come out after, if it was contradictory to the show, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
That's true. I got you.
Well, in Doctor Who Radio Show, for the first time, mentioned something that has nothing to do with Doctor Who. But needless to say, I'm afraid that's all time we have on Doctor Who Radio Show. But I have been, that's the way it goes in Iron, and these lovely gents have
The old
been,
Doctor.
Key Doctor.
Michael Shannon here.
Monk of Magnesia, a.k.a. Jimmy.
Yep.
Michael Shannon here. Great to be here. Thanks for having us all. David Aston, you're a wonderful guy. Keep up the great work. Lots of love to you, bro.
Nah.
The plot of that comic book is the Doctor comes to as in time, finds out he's a fictional character, and actually meets Matt Smith.
Oh, jeez, now we're going. All right, now.
That's the plot. And it's $7.99, and it'll come out before Christmas.
That throws me off a lot. Probably a fun story to read, but all right, that's a little too much.
Yeah.
Fun story.
Until next time, thank you, everyone.